Yeah, Vortex here, and welcome to my review of the SuperEQ Q2 Pro. And SuperEQ, for the people who don't know, are a offshoot of One Audio, as you can see there. I've tried some of their items and they're not too bad at all. I actually have one of their headphones to review, which will be after this, but you obviously keep an eye on the channel and you'll see that. So yeah, as usual, as full disclaimer is, these are actually sent out to me by SuperEQ. So thank you very much, I do appreciate it. I was not paid to do this video, and all thoughts and opinions are my own. Yeah, and as usual, let's just get into it. So like I said in the introduction, they are a brand or spin-off or subsidiary of One Audio, and I've got no issues with that. They're not too bad at all. There's some generic information about the firm and how it's made, nothing on the top. So touch controls, which I'll show you later on, 30 hours of playtime, which we'll obviously check, hybrid active noise cancellation and the transparency mode. These have no app, so that's just bear that in mind. So let's just go from left to right. Obviously that's what it includes, which I'll show you. Some contact information. So the specs is a 10mm dynamic driver. It is Bluetooth 5.2, which is good to see. There's some variety of playtime, so 11 hours with it off, 8 with it on, charging time of 2 hours, and there's just the actual the case, so 40 hours with it off, 28 with it on, which is not bad for the size of the actual case. It says it's a 370 milliamp hours battery in the case, and yeah, I'll just edit and see what's inside. So for the power of editing, it just came in here in this sleeve. There's also some protective covers on the connectors, which I'll show you. I've already took them off because I've actually been using these quite a lot before I did the video, so kind of a little bit of cheating, which is no harm done. So in here you get, as you can see, so you get 4, so 2 pairs of tips, a small and large. Medium are already on. I'll show you that in a second. So as normal you get a charge cable, which is kind of small. You can always use it or use one you already probably have for your phone. So type C to obviously USB-A. A manual, which I'll show in a separate section because it's kind of useful to go over, because all true wireless ones all work a little bit different. And yeah, actually onto the buds. So that's the 3 lights. If it's fully charged, they'll all be lit. Lower the charge, lesser lit. Essentially, I'll show you in the guide. So it's type C. These don't have wireless charging. So input is 5 volt. That's the brand in there. So like now that will try and pair to a previous device or to pair to the new device. So left and right. I'll just take one of these out. So they're quite thick, but I had no issues with the fit. There's L. There's the connectors. So when you get these originally, there is like a sleeve, like a sticker across them. So it's not draining any current in, storage or transit, which is kind of cool. Obviously the S is the touch button, all that is. And yeah, so that's what they look like. So I'm going to go over the guide because it's very useful, and then I'll do the microphone test, and then I'll actually get onto the main review chunk of this. So yeah, so let's see what's in here, because it is very useful just to quickly skim through. So the user guide, it is useful just to skim through. Like I said, they all work a bit different. So it's English, German and Chinese, I think. Again, the information about the specs. So it says iOS. I don't know if that means what it's to be compatible with, but I've used this with Android and Windows 10 with no issues. So to use SBC and AAC codecs. Obviously battery life and stuff like that. Quick skim over, that's going to charge. So here is the lights. So fully charged is obviously 370 to 99. Well, it's probably lower than that, but coming up to 3 to 1.5, 1.5. It's very straightforward. Charging information there. These don't have wireless charging, so bear in mind. Information about wearing them, twist them a little bit when you get the most comfortable. Powering them off, on and on. As you can see, in and out the case. Very straightforward there. So how you pair them the first time is here, the first section. But to pair again, this is the key part. So you put them out, put them back in, and then you hold, I hold the right one for 6 seconds, and then it will pair to the next device. Otherwise you'll just keep locked to the original. And that's how the controls work. So left and right. So all on the left is those are all on the right. So active noise cancellation transparency is from the left side. So you hold it for 2 seconds and you'll hear a prompt in the left ear when that happens. So it's all there: play, pause, next track, previous track, voice assistance, end call, reject call, all that. There's no volume control. I don't think they could have fitted it on with the instruction set, but there's no volume. You can't control the volume of it. And again there, that's like the text version of what it can do. And again, the same thing there. And that's it. So German, so very useful just to go over it. So now is the microphone test, and then I'll get straight on to the actual review. This is just a quick microphone test of the SuperEQ Q2 Pro. I'm just speaking in a quiet room, just normal kind of volume. And I'm using obviously both of them in stereo. And this is just pretty much it. Just a quick microphone test of the SuperEQ by One Audio, the Q2 Pro. So finally onto the review section of the SuperEQ Q2 Pro. You just heard the actual microphone test. And yeah, so on to what these are actually like. So let's just get them out. So that is one negative. See the weight of it wants to drop. That's one negative. I wanted to show, but which is a shame. It needs a little bit more counterweight towards the front. But this is very light. It needs more weight towards the front, which is a shame. You close the lid and it's fine. So comfort is fine considering these are big. I actually had no issues, surprisingly, but no, it's fine. So that's what they look like. Yeah, so comfort and natural fit was fine for longer sessions. I had no real issues. Obviously it says R for right, obviously L is for left. Very straightforward. So yeah, let's get on to the controls. So you can see here that's the touch section. I had no issues at all. Considering this must be, I think, one of their first true wireless models, they did actually get it pretty much perfect. So it's not overly sensitive, but it's not under sensitive, if you can understand what I mean. I had no issues with the touch controls. And going through how all they work, again, I had no issues at all. As you can see, it's trying to pair. Also, when these are in use, and if you have the music paused, you'll see that gradually be like a white light in a few seconds. It's just to give you a reminder that they're actually connected but not turned off. So that's what they do. So controls are good. Again, you just heard the microphone, so you know what that's like. Connectivity, my phone was pretty much perfect again. I don't know the actual chipset used. It says 5.2, so obviously it's a modern, up-to-date one, and the stability was very good. I had no issues at all. So yeah, so straight on to battery life. So they stated up to 11 hours, and then with the case you get 40 combined. I never got that, but I got up there, shall we say. I don't know the exact time, but the battery life is more than good enough, which is kind of cool. Obviously there's no aptX HD or LDAC. They don't have anything like that, but those do really cane the battery. This obviously, I used this with AAC and it was fine, so not much to say really. Let's get on to the actual modes. So these have active noise cancellation and ambient mode. So let's go through ambient, which is probably the second negative of these really, is compared to having nothing on, then to ambient, it's slightly better. So the actual, it's not that powerful. It's probably the best way to describe it. So if you got nothing on at all, they do have decent just passive noise cancellation. When you turn it on, it's a little bit better. More expensive models I've tried do better, but they are more expensive. And that's it really, not much to say. But when you're using them, you just pick up wind noise, obviously, because using the outside microphones. And that's it really. It could be a bit louder, but and again, it wasn't bad. It just could be doing a bit better. I'd say it's average. So active noise cancellation I thought was actually very good. It kills pretty much all the low end. It is extremely noticeable, but it doesn't really change the music when it's on. So sometimes some true wireless change how the music sounds, or whatever you listen to, it sounds a little bit different. This doesn't really do that, which is kind of cool and good really. It doesn't change colour the audio. So yeah, the active noise cancellation for my use worked very good. I'd love to try it on something with a lot of noise. I love to try on a plane, but obviously I haven't been on a flight lately for me to test it. So, but for my use, it does knock out a lot of the low frequencies. So yeah, let's get on to so isolation. Obviously I'd ignore sensitivity and powering them, because obviously you have no control because it's got its own chipset. Let's get on to the actual sound of them. So like now I'm going to overlay the graph. Not bad tuning actually, but I'll start from the bass. So low end, obviously you can see it elevates slowly from the lower mids, makes it sound a little bit thicker, which is not too bad at all. There's a big kind of, it rises up towards like 80, and then it drops off quite a bit from 60, but mine does show more sub bass roll off. Normally it wouldn't be, if you listen to this, it wouldn't drop off as much. It'd probably be closer to maybe 63, 64, maybe in real life. Just mine seems to roll off. So yeah, they do have a bit of sub bass, but it does roll off, which is a shame. But they do sound quite fun. So for EDM, they are quite the same fine. They sound quite exciting for EDM. Not to say really the decay is okay. It's a big 12mm DD. It sounds okay. It's not the best low end I've heard, but it's definitely not the worst either. It's fine. Mids are smooth is probably the best way to describe it. You can see there's an elevation and then it dips and comes back up. So kind of V-shaped. But one thing I do like is the upper mids. See, it's very shallow. So the vocals sound very real, but not like in your face. That's one of probably the best parts of it like this, is it doesn't have really boosted upper mids or shouty mids. I do like that. So female vocals for me sound kind of real, like it's supposed to, sort of pushed onto you. Male vocals sounded fine, and any instruments who fits in the mids sounded fine really. Can't really say. It's kind of safe. It's tuned either by accident or purposely, but the mids I found very, very safe, so not much to say really. Treble. Now you can see it starts to rise then up to the 3K. So it's kind of risen later than you normally get. But I didn't really have it. It didn't really sound aggressive or anything like that. I had no issue at all with the treble. Apart from the 8K peak, which is obviously from how it's measured, I had no issues really. It sounded fine. There's a very, very, very small boost because it's quite of a rise. It's a light rise, but I had no issues with the treble. Obviously, they're not the most resolving earbuds because they're not the price that way. They're not expensive like crazy plain or anything like that, but for what they are, a DD doing a full range, the treble section was perfectly fine and the instrument separation was okay. Obviously again, it's not the best I've heard, but it's again not the worst. For this company's I think their first kind of release into true wireless, they've actually done quite a good job, and that's that's the treble. Not too bad at all. Obviously it does ignore the 8K peak. It'd actually drop off. In theory, from 6K to 10 would be, it'd actually be lower than that. In reality, it's just how it's measured. So that's what they kind of, that's what they sound like. Sound stage and imaging were both okay, nothing amazing, but not too bad at all. And yeah, so actually on to the negatives. So negatives are, you've seen the case, when you open it, it does that. 2, there's no volume control on the buds. To me, that's not a problem. To some people, that is a problem. Obviously, that's obviously up to you. And 3, really, the ambient mode could be a little bit stronger, but it did work okay. It just could be a bit strong, and that's pretty much it. So conclusion is, yeah, for a company's first offering, they're not too bad at all. Like you just said, you've heard the negative. Positives are, it's kind of a fun wide, it's a V shape but like a wide one. It's not aggressive, it's kind of fun. I didn't get any fatigue. I do like the mids on it. It was actually not too bad at all. I do like it was unboosted, so it's fine really. But yeah, this is better than I expected, because when I agreed to review this, there was no graph or anything anywhere. I saw nothing, so I was kind of trying it blind. But they do work very well. Connection was good. The controls are very good. There's no gaming mode, if that matters to you. To me, it doesn't really matter. I don't play games on my phone. But yeah, on the whole, not too bad at all. Obviously, I've tried better ones than this, but for the kind of price range that this is at, I think it's perfectly fine. I do like it's got very good battery life for the price range, and the connection's really good. So yeah, on the whole, they're not too bad at all. Maybe in a different version you could fix, like, add volume level, things like that. But yeah, I think they're pretty good. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and take care.